All right, buckle up again. As if you thought a hug was the worst thing that could happen to a royal guard. Oh no, my sweet summer child, you have no idea what's coming next. It's exactly 8:47 a.m. outside Buckingham Palace, London. The sky is a dull, oppressive gray, threatening rain, but not quite delivering it, just enough to keep everyone a little on edge. Tourists clutch their cameras like lifelines, hoping to catch a glimpse of the legendary stoic guards who stand motionless through wind, weather, and apparently awkward human interaction. Reginald is one of those guards, tall, rigid, and absolutely unflinching, a monument of discipline, standing sentinel like he's carved from stone. But inside his head, oh, it's a different story. The aftermath of Brad's infamous hug still haunts him. That unwanted, unsolicited chest to chest connection has sent shockwaves through his normally unshakable demeanor. His mind replays it like a bad movie. The awkwardness, the violation of unspoken royal protocol, the viral video that now has millions watching and commenting on his emotional constipation. But despite all this turmoil, Reginald remains on duty because that's what a Queen's Guard does: endure the rain, the shine, the tourists, and yes, even the Americans. Speaking of Americans, enter Ashley. Ashley is not a hugger. Ashley is an emotional wrecking ball. She's the kind of person who once staged a one-woman protest at a farmer's market because she claimed the peaches lacked positive energy vibrations. She hails from Wisconsin, manages 3 astrology-themed TikTok accounts, and today she's here on a mission to disrupt the monarchy's centuries-old emotional gridlock. Pride is with her, nervously adjusting his baseball hat. He's the accidental hero of that viral hug, trying to keep the peace while throwing in casual mentions of social media engagement to remind Ashley why they even came here. Ashley isn't listening. She's got her phone out, live streaming and narrating in an over the top dramatic voice. She calls this moment a spiritual intervention, a phrase she repeats like a mantra while staring directly at Reginald's famously impassive face. She squints, nods to herself. Is that the guy? She asks Brad. The one who didn't blink, not once, even after the hug? Brad nods solemnly. That's him, the human statue of emotional repression. Ashley steps forward. 1 step, 2 steps, then 5. Brad's eyes widen. Ashley, wait, we talked about this. But Ashley's already in the zone. She lifts her arm with slow, deliberate grace, like she's about to knight the man, and then smack. A late tap, not a playful pat, a slap. A full throttle, Midwest mom level slap charged with 3 generations of disappointment and stern lectures about personal boundaries. The sound reverberates through the courtyard, echoing off ancient walls. Time slows. An espresso cup shatters on the pavement. A toddler's cries pierce the air as confused onlookers wonder whose child it even is. As a tour guide nervously blurts out, "Long live the Queen, bro," forgetting himself instantly. Brad screams, "Ashley, what have you done?" Ashley beams, proud as if she just signed a peace treaty. "I opened a door that's been locked tight since 1660. Reginald, he does not move." His expression as unreadable as ever, but inside his mind races like a runaway train. Did that just happen? Am I awake? Am I dreaming? Did I just get slapped on royal property by a woman in platform sneakers? Meanwhile, deep beneath the palace, a red warning light flashes on a sleek, hidden control panel. On the screen, in bold letters, slap detect left cheek intent, spiritual liberation. Nigel, the ever stoic protocol officer, calmly spills his tea but doesn't flinch. He mutters, "Not again, not before breakfast." He grabs a thick folder labeled Protocol 7, Emotional Assault Tier 2, and marches off at a brisk, characteristically British pace, which means fast walking with a polite grimace. Back outside, the neutralizers arrive. These are the elite, non-combat response unit trained to contain emotional chaos, a highly specialized squad whose motto might as well be feelings under control. One clears his throat loudly, another adjusts his pristine white gloves. The third starts scribbling furiously on a clipboard titled Offense, Excessive Feeling, to form a precise triangle around Ashley, the formation they call the mildly confrontational embrace. Ashley looks around, unfazed. Is this because of the slap? She asks. Nigel steps forward, eyes sharp as a tack. Madam, you have violated Section 4 of the Emotional Containment Act of 1874, he intones gravely. Brad chokes on his own disbelief. Wait, that's a real thing? Nigel narrows his eyes and replies coldly, It is now. Reginald remains unmoving, but inside, he's already writing poetry, rhyming couplets about pain, boundaries, and maybe one day becoming a beekeeper in the remote highlands far away from the madness. The morning closes quietly, one slap richer, one royal guard more fractured on the inside, and somewhere across whispered conversations in tea rooms and pub corners, a new phrase takes hold. First came the hug, then came the slap. What's next? A dance battle? All right, so the slap just landed, loud enough to rattle ancient stones and shake the delicate composure of Buckingham Palace's finest. But don't be fooled, that sharp smack is only the overture to a much longer symphony of chaos, confusion, and protocol violations. Reginald stands motionless, a perfect pillar of royal endurance. To the naked eye, he's unbroken. No flicker of pain, no twitch of surprise, no hint that something monumental just happened. But behind that ironclad mask, his mind is a storm of turmoil and disbelief. The emotional firewall, painstakingly built over years of relentless training, has just been breached by a force as unexpected as it was humiliating. He recalls the countless drills drilled into his brain, never react, no emotion, no blinking, no anything. But as the sting radiates across his cheek, the longing for a simple human blink becomes unbearable. To blink would be to break, and to break is unthinkable. Yet the desire for release swells like a tide behind his clenched jaw. Somewhere deep within, Reginald's mind wanders far away to the serene Scottish Highlands, where mist curls around heather and bees hum beneath endless gray skies. There, he imagines a life free from tourists, viral videos, and the crushing weight of centuries-old tradition. A life with jars of honey, quiet mornings, and no unexpected slaps. Back on the palace grounds, Ashley is being carefully escorted away by the neutralizers, the elite unit of emotional first responders. They're the unarmed heroes of the palace's internal peacekeeping, experts in diffusing emotional crises with steely discipline and a wealth of clipboards. Ashley, however, remains undeterred. Her phone is still recording, and her voice rings out, brimming with excitement and a hint of triumph. Here I am, folks, trapped in the infamous, mildly confrontational embrace. We're tearing down walls and shattering centuries of royal repression, one slap at a time. Monarchy meltdown. Slapgate. Revolution. In repress. Brad stands nearby, looking like a man who just realized he's accidentally started a small revolution. He shoots Reginald a series of sheepish, apologetic glances, all while trying to suppress a cringe. Then Nigel arrives. The palace's protocol czar, a man whose very presence smells of bureaucracy and suppressed frustration. He approaches the scene with a deliberate calmness, delicately sipping his ever-present cup of tea as if it were a potion to stave off madness. He clears his throat with practiced authority, adjusts his pince nez, and declares, pursuant to Section 4, Paragraph 12b of the Emotional Containment Act of 1874, unauthorized physical contact with a guard on duty is strictly prohibited. Brad's jaw drops. Wait, the Emotional Containment Act? Nigel shoots him a glare so sharp it could slice through armor. It exists now, Mr. Brad, thanks to recent events. Ashley raises a mocking eyebrow, grinning. Guess I just made history. Again. Around them, the murmuring crowd teeters between stunned silence and barely concealed amusement. Tourists whisper excitedly, some capturing every second on their phones. This is better than any scripted royal event. Suddenly, a crackling announcement booms from the palace loudspeakers. Attention all personnel, Protocol Tango has been activated. Emotional de-escalation teams will arrive momentarily. Please maintain order. Reginald's earpiece buzzes softly, and a calm, measured female voice instructs, prepare for de-escalation procedures. Remain calm and compliant. His eyes narrow. De-escalation? Is that code for tea and scones, guided meditation, or the dreaded, whispered about interpretive dance sessions rumored to be the palace's last resort? As the neutralizers gently shepherd Ashley away, their mildly confrontational embrace now resembling a bizarre cross between a group hug and a tactical maneuver, she continues her impassioned monologue. To all my followers, remember this moment today. Tradition was shaken to its core. Today, the monarchy tasted the fire of raw emotion. The revolution starts with a slap. Brad trails behind, muttering a string of apologies and frantic explanations about social media impact and viral marketing, which only confuses everyone further. Meanwhile, Reginald inhales deeply, the cool London air filling his lungs. He closes his eyes for a brief moment, the smallest crack in his lifelong armor. Then, almost imperceptibly, he blinks. Just once. That tiny human blink is like a crack appearing on a centuries-old marble statue. Somewhere in the depths of the palace, a protocol officer grumbles. The fall of the empire, one blink at a time. Reginald straightens again, restoring his trademark unflappable mask, but inside his mind churns. The slap, the viral videos, the breaking of protocol, it all leaves an invisible mark far deeper than any visitor could ever see. As the crowd slowly disperses, whispers ripple through London's pubs, parlors, and social media feeds. First came the hug. Then came the slap. What's next? Dance battles at dawn? Because if you think Buckingham Palace can't get any stranger, well, my friend, you're about to be very surprised. All right, so the slap has officially entered royal history, echoing through Buckingham Palace like a sonic boom of awkwardness and protocol violations. But if you thought that was the climax, think again. Welcome to the next chapter in this saga where diplomacy meets disaster in a very, very British. The palace staff is in full flurry. Security personnel dart around, whispering theories about the slap incident as if it were a royal scandal of Shakespearean proportions. The kitchen staff debates whether to rename afternoon tea Slap Witches, while the gift shop quickly runs out of souvenir postcards bearing Reginald's unblinking visage. Tour guides have unofficially renamed the infamous corner Slap Central, charging a premium for selfies taken beside the very spot where history was made, and the souvenir mugs, already sold out. Reginald? He remains the unblinking sentinel, a stoic rock amid a sea of madness. His face is carved from the finest British stone, utterly unreadable, yet inside, a tempest brews. The emotional assault, though outwardly ignored, has rattled his mental fortress. The sting on his cheek feels like a badge of both honor and humiliation. Then the palace loudspeaker crackles to life, cutting through the murmurs and frantic footsteps. Attention, all personnel. Protocol Foxtrot is now in effect. Emotional diplomacy teams, please report to the courtyard immediately. Repeat, Protocol Foxtrot is now in effect. Reginald's eyebrow twitches, a subtle betrayal of his centuries-honed discipline. He's been trained to suppress every involuntary movement, but even the strongest walls crack. Enter the emotional diplomacy team. A curious assembly of counselors, therapists, and one man who insists he's basically a wizard. Their attire is a baffling blend of business casual and new age retreat chic, tailored blazers paired with flowing linen pants, necklaces of crystals that catch the dull light, and a noticeable aura of calm mixed with mild panic. Leading the charge is Mildred, a woman whose smile is wide enough to swallow the collective stress of the entire palace. She clutches her clipboard like a lifeline and beams as she addresses the gathering crowd. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to heal the royal vibes and restore balance to this sacred space. Brad raises his hand timidly. Does this come with a social media package? Mildred giggles, her eyes twinkling. Only if you chant Om while live streaming. Ashley, still under the wary gaze of the neutralizers, rolls her eyes but cannot hide a grin. Sign me up? Mildred turns her full attention to Reginald. Sir Reginald, she says warmly, we'll start with some trust exercises. Nothing too radical, just some gentle eye contact and maybe a bit of swaying. Reginald's spine stiffens. I am a royal guard. My job is to remain absolutely unmoving. Mildred beams wider, exactly why this will be so transformative. Brad groans loudly, the kind of groan that echoes off centuries-old stone. Suddenly, Mildred pulls out a tiny Bluetooth speaker and presses play. How flows an eclectic soundtrack. Imagine Gregorian chants mashed up with late 90s boy band hits. The effect is both haunting and oddly danceable. Let's begin with synchronized breathing, Mildred commands, demonstrating deep inhales and exhales, exaggerated enough to warrant a standing ovation from any yoga instructor. Reginald inhales sharply, striving to keep his composure, but an unexpected snort escapes him. Ashley bursts into silent laughter, barely covering her amusement. Brad's face turns 50 shades of red as he face palms, a sound loud enough to drown out the music. The group pairs off for partner grounding exercises. Reginald is paired with Nigel, the palace protocol officer whose idea of bonding is giving a stare so cold it could freeze the Thames. Let's try mirroring each other's movements, Mildred chirps cheerfully. Nigel raises a single, unimpressed eyebrow. Reginald blinks. Nigel attempts to mimic Reginald's subtle twitch, but instead smacks a nearby potted plant, sending dirt flying. A small fern lands squarely on Brad's shoe. Brad yelps, hopping awkwardly on one foot. Mildred claps enthusiastically. Excellent! That's the spirit. The courtyard devolves into a scene of chaos, plants overturned, awkward dance moves, forced smiles, and an occasional muffled giggle. Even a nearby pigeon seems to disapprove, tilting its head with a disdainful coo. Security radios crackle urgently. Code green, emotional containment breach. Repeat, emotional containment breach. The neutralizers regroup, exchanging nervous glances as they try to maintain order. Brad whispers to Ashley, maybe next time, just a handshake. Ashley smirks, or an interpretive dance, at least that has rhythm. Reginald, cheeks flushed, not from the slap but from sheer absurdity, wonders silently if the beekeeping job in the Highlands might still be available. As Mildred leads the group into a reluctant group hug, met with stiff arms and questionable technique, one truth becomes undeniable. Buckingham Palace has faced invasions, rebellions, and wars, but it was not prepared for the slap or the dance that followed. All right, so the slap and the subsequent slap dance fiasco have officially shaken Buckingham Palace to its very foundations. But if you thought the storm had passed, think again, because now begins the phase that no training manual ever prepares a royal guard for, the recovery. Reginald remains standing, statuesque and unflinching on the outside, a monument to centuries of stoicism, but inside his mind is a tempest, swirling with indignation, disbelief, and a fierce secret longing for any quiet place that doesn't include tourists, viral videos, or people breaking the laws of personal space. The emotional diplomacy team, still buzzing from their less than graceful dance warm-up, have set the stage for what they optimistically call the Royal Feelings Roundtable. Imagine, if you will, a semicircle of chairs smack dab in the middle of the palace courtyard, each adorned with cushions that suspiciously look like recycled corgi fur, emitting a faint, oddly comforting musk of royalty. In Mildred, the team's fearless leader, whose smile now rivals the Cheshire Cat's in width and mystery, claps her hands together as if she just found the last biscuit in the royal tin. Now, she proclaims, voice bubbling with uncontainable enthusiasm, it's time to talk about your feelings. Remember, here there are no wrong answers. This is a safe space for all royal emotions, big or small. Brad shifts uncomfortably in his seat, leaning toward Ashley in a whisper. Is this covered by health insurance, or maybe the Queen's secret stash of emergency funds? Ashley smirks. If it isn't, it should be. This qualifies as royal trauma, no doubt. Reginald is paired with Rupert, a thin, spectacled man whose eyes magnify his caffeinated intensity to nearly supernatural levels. Sir Reginald, Rupert begins, voice drenched in empathy. How are you feeling about today's unique events? Reginald contemplates, then answers in his trademark monotone. I feel like a finely polished statue that has just been slapped by an overly enthusiastic visitor who mistook me for a punching bag. Rupert nods thoughtfully, scribbling notes in his leather-bound journal. A valid emotional response. And your boundaries, are they intact, compromised, or in need of urgent repair? Reginald raises an eyebrow, a subtle but defiant gesture, once intact, then violently breached, now existing in scattered fragments. Ashley stifles a chuckle while Brad tries and fails to maintain a straight face. Mildred, undeterred by the sarcastic mood, chimes back in, exactly why we're here, to rebuild those boundaries with compassion, understanding, and, if you're open to it, a little chanting. Before anyone can react, a loud buzzing interrupts the fragile calm. All heads snap toward the source. From the kitchen bursts a flustered chef, cheeks flushed, clutching a silver tray piled high with steaming teapots and delicate porcelain cups. In his haste, he trips over a cushion and sends it tumbling, releasing a cloud of royal dust into the air. Tea, freshly brewed and ready to soothe the soul, he announces, holding the tray aloft like a victorious knight with his sword. The group erupts into cheers and reaches greedily for the warm comfort. Even Reginald, the embodiment of stoicism, allows the faintest, nearly imperceptible twitch at the corner of his lips. A micro smile, a royal miracle. Brad leans toward Ashley, voice barely audible. Maybe all it takes to fix a slap is a good cuppa? Ashley grins. And a strict no dancing policy forever. As the late afternoon sun finally breaks through the heavy London clouds, casting a golden glow over the battered courtyard, calm, or at least a semblance of it, is restored. The day's madness feels like a surreal, bizarre dream. But beneath the forced politeness and careful smiles, everyone knows this day will be etched into history, not for the Queen's impeccable composure, not for the countless pages of protocol manuals, but for the slap that cracked the unbreakable, the slap that unleashed uncoordinated dance moves no one was ready for, the slap that started a revolution of awkwardness and viral fame. And perhaps most importantly, the slap that made even the unblinkable blink. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that sometimes the smallest, most unexpected moments leave the deepest marks. In this moment was nothing short of slaptastic. All right, so by this stage, Buckingham Palace is no longer the solemn, stoic fortress of royal tradition it once was. No, it's now a chaotic carnival of confusion, a spectacle part reality show, part farce, and part toddler tantrum set to the soundtrack of anxious whispers and frantic paper shuffling. Reginald still stands tall and unmoving on the surface, a perfect statue of royal discipline. But inside? Oh, inside his mind is a swirling tempest. It's like a tempest made of angry corgis chasing their tails, existential dread, and a slow-burning desire to disappear into a quiet cave somewhere far, far away. He contemplates his life choices with increasing regret. Why did I ever sign up for this? Should have been a beekeeper. At least bees don't slap back or dance awkwardly in public. Meanwhile, the neutralizers, Buckingham Palace's emotional SWAT team, are flailing with the desperate energy of baristas on double espresso shots trying to fulfill a tsunami of impossible coffee orders. They shuffle through battered manuals marked with highlighted sections and hastily scribbled notes. Section 9, Handling Unexpected Physical Contacts. Slaps, hugs, accidental face pinches. Appendix C, Dealing with Emotional Status Quo Disruptions. Addendum 7.2, Viral Video Containment Protocols, because apparently this is a thing now. Brad is pacing like a man who just detonated a diplomatic mine. He mutters to himself, maybe a card? A fruit basket? Do apology cookies exist? Asking for a friend? Ashley, the unflappable social media maven, has gone full reporter mode. Her phone lights up with frantic typing as she live tweets the unfolding drama. Her latest tweet reads, just got politely escorted out by palace security. Apparently, Slapgate is too spicy for the crown's delicate palate. Royal drama, historic fails. Inside the palace walls, Her Majesty has been receiving a steady stream of increasingly panicked text messages from her private secretary. The official royal statement, concise and typically British, declares, our guards are trained for everything except this. Enter the crisis management team, a squad so buttoned up, so straight-faced, you'd think they were prepping for a summit on global nuclear disarmament, not damage control for a slap. Their leader, Beatrice, steps in like a storm cloud wrapped in a blazer, carrying folders labeled urgent, damage control that seemed to weigh more than a small corgi, surveying the scene with the kind of calm reserved for seasoned professionals who have seen it all, including the inexplicable chaos of the palace's annual tea towel shortage. Beatrice clears her throat and announces, all right, listen up. This is Buckingham Palace. We do not panic. We do not dance. And under no circumstances do we ever slap. Period. Reginald gives her the faintest nod, the kind that suggests, I'm still alive, barely, and perhaps I've lost the will to care. Meanwhile, the corgis, ever the true rulers of the palace, have staged a silent sit-in protest. Positioned squarely in the middle of the courtyard, they fix the gathered humans with unblinking, judgmental stares. Their message is clear: more treats, less slap drama. Brad, desperate to lighten the mood, blurts out, maybe we should hold a royal talent show? Channel the energy elsewhere? Ashley deadpans without missing a beat. Perfect. I'll bring my astrology-themed TikTok dances. We'll call it Slapfest 2025. The crisis team nods approvingly and immediately starts organizing emergency tea breaks, feelings check-ins, and mandatory mindfulness sessions designed to soothe nerves, and likely to keep the palace's insurance premiums from skyrocketing. Away from the chaos, Reginald quietly slips off to a shadowed corner of the garden. From his breast pocket, he pulls out a small, dog-eared notebook and writes, with a weary sigh, Day 1 post-slap, officially considering transfer to the Ministry of Silence or the Ministry of Bees, anywhere remote, peaceful, and slap-free. Because if there's one indisputable truth that has emerged from this slap-fueled circus, it's this. Buckingham Palace may have endured wars, scandals, and decades of questionable fashion choices, but it was utterly unprepared for the slap that shattered centuries of rigid protocol, the slap that unleashed a tidal wave of viral chaos and awkward dance moves, the slap that transformed a stoic guard into a global internet sensation, and most importantly, the slap that reminded the world and the palace that no matter how dignified the institution, sometimes absurdity reigns supreme. So as the sun sets on this unforgettable day, one thing is clear. History might remember many moments from Buckingham Palace, with none quite like this. All right, so the slap saga may have ended in the palace courtyard, but its ripples became tidal waves, crashing into every screen, phone, and cafe conversation across the globe. Because when centuries of royal tradition collide with internet chaos, the real battleground isn't behind palace gates, it's in the scroll. News outlets scrambled to cover the slap heard round the world, crafting headlines from royal protocol shattered by unexpected contact to American tourists sparks incident with one swift slap. Tabloids had a field day. Slapgate, the royal rumble no one saw coming, complete with Photoshop contests featuring Reginald mid-slap in classic art and movie posters. Twitter, TikTok, even Facebook lit up. Hashtags like Slapgate, Unblinking Legend, Royal Fail, and Slapfest 2025 blazed through trending lists, spawning memes so sharp they could have been forged in the Queen's smithy. From Reginald's stare to reenactments of Ashley's slap of destiny, the internet was ablaze. Ashley, now queen of Slapgate, rode the wave with full swagger. Her slap dance TikToks racked up millions. She hit every talk show from Good Morning Britain to Royal Etiquette Today, where she dropped her now iconic line, "I didn't choose the slap life. The slap life crash landed into my aura." Became an instant meme. Brad, the accidental instigator, was overwhelmed. Interview requests, apology demands, podcast invites, even a Netflix pitch titled The Slap and the Stare. He briefly considered renaming himself Bradley Incognito. Reginald, still stoic, became a global icon. Nicknamed the Unblinking, his stare went viral. Memes, cereal boxes, mugs reading "Blink free since 1660." A fan base emerged. Posters quoted, "Reginald doesn't blink because if he did, he might cry." Inside the palace, the PR team released a polished statement. Buckingham Palace respects the dignity of its royal guards. While public interest is noted, physical contact remains strictly prohibited. Meanwhile, Mildred's task force launched Guard Wellness Wednesdays, yoga, trust falls, and interpretive dance. Some guards leaned in, others, like Reginald, stayed skeptical. Rumors spread of secret moonlit dance sessions, led by Nigel. Palace life settled back, now with added slap awareness. The corgis resumed their biscuit-fueled patrols, lobbying for an official no-slap zone. Reginald returned to his post, still silent, legendary, and maybe, just maybe, there was the tiniest smirk, a hint of survival, of transformation, of viral fame. As the London sun set, one thing was clear. In this digital age, even one slap, absurd and unauthorized, can create a legend. In Buckingham Palace, never weirder, never more human, because history isn't always written by kings. Sometimes it's made by a slap, a stare, a TikTok, and a woman in platform sneakers. And sometimes that's all it takes to shake tradition, one hilarious moment at a time.